Hello, welcome back to my channel Awesome Learning, and today we are going to start with the double helical structure of the DNA, the Watson and Crick model, the 3D model of the DNA, which was given by Watson and Crick. So before starting that, I'll just have a very brief revision with you all. As we did, the phosphate group is joined to the sugar by a bond which is called phosphoester bond, and the sugar is joined to the nitrogenous base by another bond called glycosidic bond. So this is one nucleotide. Similarly, there is another nucleotide, and we know that DNA is a chain which are having lot of nucleotides which are joined together. So children, how these nucleotides are joined together, you can see nucleotide number 1 and nucleotide number 2 both are joined together again by a bond which is between the sugar of the previous nucleotide and the phosphate group of the next nucleotide by a bond which is called phosphodiester bond. Phosphodiester bond. That means nucleotides are joined together, and these bonds are called phosphodiester bonds. Okay, so this was about the bonding part. Now we will start with the 3D model of the DNA. Now before starting the 3D model of the DNA, I must tell you that three scientists were of great importance here. One was Chargaff and the other one were Franklin and Wilkins. Okay, now what happened, we have to follow a sequence while drawing a DNA 3D model of DNA, and these sequences were given by Chargaff and Franklin and Wilkins. So let's see those sequences. Chargaff worked on the chemical composition of nitrogenous base, and he said that number of adenines are always equal to thymine, and amount of guanine is always equal to cytosine. And you know that adenine and guanine are the purines, and thymine and cytosine are the pyrimidines. That means that purines are always equal with the pyrimidines. So number of purines are always equal to the number of pyrimidines. This was the first rule given by Chargaff. This was given by Chargaff. Then Franklin and Wilkins said that the information they gave the information on DNA structure. They said that the diameter of the helix. Now, children, these are the helix. DNA, I have drawn it parallelly. Otherwise, DNA is always in this manner. So they said that the helix, okay, must be of the width between the helix must be how much? It must be 20 Armstrongs. That means both the helix will have a distance in between them, and that distance will be almost 20 Armstrongs, and it will be fixed, it will not change. Okay, so the helix is twisted. You see, as I told you, it is twisted and is anti-parallel. Now what do you mean by anti-parallel? That both the helix, if one of the helix is from 3 prime to 5 prime, then this is the polarity. So the other helix will be 5 prime to 3 prime. Okay, so both the helix will be anti-parallel, and the distance between them will be fixed. That will be how much? 20 Armstrongs. Okay, model of DNA was given by Watson and Crick. 3D model of DNA was given by Watson and Crick, but they used the information given by Chargaff and Franklin and Wilson. Okay, the information that the previous scientist had given, Watson and Crick used those information to make a 3D model of the DNA. Now this is the structure of DNA, children. It was given by Watson and Crick. The polynucleotide chain of DNA consists of phosphate and sugar as the backbone. Okay, phosphate and sugar are considered to be the backbone, and the nitrogenous base are found inside. Now how? You see, two anti-parallel helix, as I just told you earlier above, two anti-parallel helix are found. 5 dash to 3 dash and 3 dash to 5 dash. Now why do we call them as 5 dash, 3 dash? Let me tell you. 5 prime is the position of the sugar where the sugar was attached. If you remember, I have given you this in the previous video. And 3 prime is the third position where the hydroxyl group is left. Okay, so a DNA helix, if I write 5 prime or 3 prime, then here where it is ending at the 3 dash, it will have a hydroxyl group. So it is anti-parallel. You see, this is the double helix, and if this one is 5 dash to 3 dash, then the other strand will be 3 dash to 5 dash, just to show you the anti-parallel part. Then children, you see, as I told you, that nitrogenous base and sugar, as I told you, phosphate and sugar will be the backbone of the model. So to show you, let me use some other pen, color pen. So children, this is the helix, and here are present the phosphate and the sugar group. So this is the backbone. Phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate and sugar. Similarly here also, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate. So this is the backbone. Okay, and I told you that nitrogenous bases are inside the helix. So these are the nitrogenous base. You see here it is A, and in front of A it is T. Here it is G, in front of it is C. So the nitrogenous bases are inside, and the phosphorus and the sugar are the backbones of the double helical structure of the DNA. Then there is a rule, children, here, that nitrogenous bases are joined with the help of hydrogen bonds. Now here these nitrogenous bases are joined by hydrogen bonds. Here the bonds are hydrogen bonds, and there is a rule that A will be bonded with T and there will be double bonds, and G will be bonded with C and it will be triple bond. Okay, now because of these bonds in between, because of these bonds here, children, in between the nitrogenous bases, the DNA has got, the structure of the DNA has got stability. The DNA is stable because of these bonds, and this is a very, very, very important point, because when now in this chapter there will be a topic when we will discuss why did we consider DNA to be the genetic material and not the RNA was considered as the genetic material. The reason here is, we will give one reason, will be that DNA is stable. Now why is DNA stable? Because these hydrogen bonds will give the stability to the DNA. You see, this point is very important while judging why DNA was the genetic material, because it is more stable than RNA. Why is RNA not stable? Because RNA is single stranded. There is no other strand to form the bonds, no other strand to make the bond, so it is not stable. DNA is a stable genetic material. Okay, so this point was very important. Then children, they spoke about the diameter of the helix, which we have already done, that the diameter of the helix will be stable. It will be always 20 Armstrongs. See, it will be always 20 Armstrongs, and you can even write 20 nanometer, or you can write 20 Armstrongs, one and the same thing. Then children, we come to one complete helix is of 3.4 Armstrongs. Let me show you here. We start from here. This is one complete helix. This is one complete helix, and it is of 3.4 Armstrongs. And children, one complete helix has 10 base pairs. 10 base pairs. That means Here this is 1 base pair, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 till here. How many base pairs will there will be? There will be 10 base pairs. Okay, so if 3.4 is the total length and all the and it contains 10 base pairs, so that means the distance between two base pairs will be how much? 0.34 Armstrongs, right? So it was a very easy and small calculation that distance between the two base pairs will be 0.34 Armstrongs. Okay, so distance between two base pair strands will be 0.3 by, because the total distance was 3.4 and the number of base pairs it contained were 10, so we just divided it and we got the answer. Okay, then children, one complete turn is also known as major groove. This one complete turn is also known as the major groove. This is the major groove here, and you can see a small groove here. This is called the minor groove of the DNA. This is the major groove, because when we take one complete turn, this is the groove which is a bit larger groove. So this is called major groove, and here it is a minor one. So this is called a minor groove. So remember this, children, these are the basic structure of the 3D model of the DNA, which you have to understand, and you should know how to draw with the